Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for checking out today's episode of Hardball Sports Talk. My name is Brandon, and joining me, like always, is my good friend Alex. Alex, how are you today?
Hoi, Brendan. I am doing wonderful. The weather is nice out. It has not rained yet, like I said it was going to, so I've been enjoying the weather.
Well, that is beautiful. We have shockingly no snow up here for April 10th, and
Impressive.
I've actually 3 times since Saturday night I've used the grill. So
Nice. What have you been
yeah,
cooking?
we did burgers at my parents' house tonight. Sunday after church, I made some burgers on the grill here, and then Monday I threw some brats on the grill.
That sounds delicious. We had
Yeah.
brats, I think Tuesday. The roommate went out and surprised me with a couple local brats. What are you laughing at?
I get yelled at for this comment of you saying roommate
Why?
because Kelsey, my wife Kelsey, does not appreciate that you're calling your wife roommate. She goes, "Do you call me roommate?" I'm like, "No,
Well, she is my roommate. I mean,
I know,
women.
I know." Yep.
Anyways, moving
Anyways,
on.
so actually, something I wanted. We're gonna talk about the Tigers today, but something that came up today that I was gonna mention to you in the pre-show, but I forgot to. Did you see the news with the Coyotes?
No, I did not.
So it's in the very early stages, and nothing's official yet. But the NHL is kind of done with Phoenix by now. Finally,
About time. Yeah.
it took 20 years too long,
Yeah.
but they're finally considering giving up on the Phoenix project.
Really?
And yep, and they are talking to the owner of the Utah Jazz about moving the team to Salt Lake City.
Interesting.
Yeah. Again, this is nothing's official yet. ESPN has articles about this, so I mean it's a legit story,
Right.
but nothing's official yet. But yeah, so yeah, that is the story going on right now in hockey.
Hmm.
But today we want to focus on the Detroit Tigers and the week they've had. It was not the prettiest of week for us Tigers, but like I told somebody today, I ran into somebody at work today, and they asked me, "What do I think about the Tigers right now?" And I said, "All you gotta do is play 500 baseball in April, and they'll be okay." Because if you look at the last 4 years under Hinch, this team, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but this team has been brutal in the month of April. And it has caused them chances of making the playoffs, win the division, because there hasn't been a dominant team in this division in years. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm not saying the Tigers are a good baseball team, okay? I'm just saying if you can float around 500 in April and keep yourself close, you could possibly sneak your way in the playoffs by winning weak division. And that's kind of the expectations for the Tigers this year is to be competing for the division, which we both have them finishing second in this division. So in my world, that's competing for this division, assuming Minnesota doesn't run away with this thing by 10, 15 games, which I don't see that happening. But moving on now, the Tigers, they played Oakland over the weekend. It was not the greatest weekend for the Tigers, to be completely honest with you guys. On Friday, opening day for Detroit, we were able to beat the Oakland Athletics 5-4. The key players for Detroit in this game: Matt Vierling went 1 for 3 with a home run and a walk. Spencer Torkelson went 2 for 4 with 1 RBI and 2 runs. Tariq Skubal, who we both have as our AL Cy Young Award winner, went 6 1/3 with 4 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. So a decent outing, but nothing too overpowering. The 4 runs is a little too high, but I mean he's not going to throw shutouts every game either. So the bullpen solid, two and 2/3 innings, no runs allowed. Vest technically allowed a run, but went on Skubal's record because it was Skubal's base runner. On Saturday, the bats went quiet. Oakland shutting out the Tigers 4-0. Kenta Maeda went 5 2/3, allowed 3 runs, walked 4, 3 strikeouts. Another conversation I had today, I told somebody, I said, "Listen, outside of Skubal, if you can get 5, 6 innings of 2, 3, 4 run baseball out of your starters and give the offense a chance to stay in this game, That's really what you're asking for most of your starters, and that's what Kenta Maeda did on Saturday. But unfortunately, the offense was non-existent. Carson Kelly, the backup catcher, did go 2 for 3. He's quietly had a nice start to this season. On Sunday, it was more disappointment for the Tigers. They lost to Oakland 7-1. Riley Green was the lone bright spot for the offense. He went 2 for 3 with a home run. And then Alex Vallejo, he pitched 2 innings, allowed 2 hits, walked 1. But with those 3 base runners, nobody scored. So if you're going to allow base runners, it's nice that you don't allow them to come across. So the Oakland series, very disappointing early on in the season, considering you were just coming off a sweep at Chicago and winning 2 out of 3 against the Mets. You're coming home to playing arguably one of the worst teams in baseball, or the worst team in baseball, and you lose 2 out of 3. It was a very disappointing weekend. But then they went to Pittsburgh, and Alex is going to talk to us about the Pittsburgh series.
I want to give a shout out to Mother Teresa too. She made a comment, so shout out to Mother Teresa. As you just mentioned, they went to probably one of the best ballparks. I think we both agree. In Pittsburgh, it was nice seeing it on TV. The little bit I watched on Monday, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Tigers. Pittsburgh won 7-4. Colt Keith went 2 for 4 with the RBI. Vierling went 2 for 4 with 1 ribby. And the bullpen actually did good work. Like they gave the hitters a chance. They only allowed 1 run and through 3 2/3 inning. They gave up 3 hits and 1 run and 1 walk. And then on Tuesday, the Tigers were down. I did get to watch the end of this game. I'm glad I turned it on when I could. The Tigers were down 3-0 in the ninth. They ended up scoring 4 runs in the ninth. It was 3-1. My bad.
Yeah, they scored 1 in the first, and then they went like the next 7 innings and did absolutely nothing.
Nothing. So you thought it was another Tigers. Here we go. They can't do anything. But they ended up scoring 4 runs in the ninth to win the game, and that was exciting. Riley Green made a nice play to keep the game close, I guess you could say. But Mize went 5 innings with allowing 2 runs, and Gio Urshela went 2 for 4 with a ribby. So it was good to see him get back in the win column.
Yeah, the second game in that series, the defense stepped up huge in that game. Colt Keith made a nice play. Baez made a nice play. Like you said, Riley Green, and then Matt Vierling made a couple nice plays too. So there was a lot of good defense in that game. Oh, and our favorite player of all time, Javier Baez, made a really good play at shortstop. I will not make any more comments because I'm trying to compliment the guy right now. So, but speaking of Javier Baez, we're going to be doing this segment for every Tigers game, or not Tigers game, but every week of the Tigers. And we're going to give a stud of the week, and we should call it the Javier Baez dud of the week because I have a feeling he's going to get it more often than not. We decided, though, to start this off, will be nice to him a little bit because there's more options in this Tim for this week. So we're going to have a pitcher stud and a batter stud of the week. And then we're going to tally them up at the end of the season. So I'll keep track of who we're voting for, and we'll kind of say, here's who our MVP of the Tigers is this year and who is our least valuable player, if you will, for the Tigers this year. So my stud of the week for the hitter, I was down between 2, and I ended up going with Matt Vierling. Over the last 7 games, his OPS is 876. He made some really nice defensive plays in the Pittsburgh game, like I just said. He's hit the ball pretty well. He's got a home run or 2 in the last week. So it's nice to see a guy like Matt Vierling step up a little bit. He's not the all-star. He's not a superstar, but he's a good ball player, and I really like Matt Vierling. I think he's a good ball player for the Tigers. Not everybody's going to be all-stars on your team. You're going to have guys like Matt Vierling on your team, and when they produce, it's really good for your team. So my stud of the week for the offense is Matt Vierling.
Yeah, that was a good pick. I thought about him too, but I'm going to go with the hot corner. And Gio Urshela is my stud of the week. over the last 7 games. He played 6 of them. He has 4 RBIs. He doesn't have any home runs, but he has 2 doubles, which is always nice. He's batting right now 391, which is great. I know it's only, last 7 games, but it's still pretty good. And he's actually slugging 478, which is third right now for the last 7 games. So I've been like when I see, I think you said it's been a good sign, good signing in the off season to and it kind of helped out seeing how I know who your dud is. I think you told me. I think he got injured, so
Yep.
it's nice to see he'll be getting more playing time, and hopefully he can keep this hitting numbers up right now.
So actually, there's a player that I had a little bit higher than Vierling, and I'm like, I'll let Alex take this guy. So my honorable mention for stud of the league, I'll just mention it because I thoroughly thought you were going to take him. With an OPS this past week of 1.016, which is pretty darn good. That's on base percentage plus slugging percentage. That is Riley Green. And I have a feeling he's going to be winning a lot of studs of the league.
That's kind of why I kind of wanted to go away from. I think
Yeah.
obviously he's going to be up there every time. Plus,
Yeah.
I know he's you like to fanboy over him, so I figured why not leave him for you. But no, I agree. He was probably one of my choices every week, but I decided to not be repetitive and pick him. Like
That's
I
kind of
probably
what.
will. Yeah,
That's kind of why I went with Vierling because I mean he's also had a good week. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it,
right.
but
Yeah,
I kind of like I don't want the same guy to win it every week, and I just have a feeling there's not going to be too many weeks where Matt Vierling is in the conversation while Riley
as
Green. If things are going well, Riley Green will be in this conversation every week. So
yes, I agree.
the dud of the week, he went 1 for 9 with 3 strikeouts, and it landed himself on the injured list. Very unfortunate injury because when he gets hot, he is one of the more dangerous bats in the lineup, and that is Andy Ibanez. With his injury, the Tigers did call up Wenzel Perez. They just moved him to the outfield, but he can play in the infield, so I'll be curious to see what AJ Hinch does with him. He did pinch hit on Monday in the Pittsburgh game. But yeah, so Andy Ibanez with a 1 for 9 and 3 strikeouts is my dud for the week. Are you with me? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I zoned out on something. I realized my dud of the week, and it's kind of not fair because of the position. But I have Jake Rogers as my dud of the week. He has been struggling. He's 2 for 13 in 4 games he's played in the last 7 days. Only has 1 RBI, 6 strikeouts, no home runs. He's batting 154, and his on base percentage is 214. I feel like this is kind of a recurring thing where it takes some time to get going. But right now he's just been a dud. So it's good to know that Carson Kelly's kind of doing better. His numbers haven't been too great, but they've been better than Jake Rogers, and so I went with Jake Rogers as the dud of the week.
Yeah, it's the whole offense really. There's
Yeah.
been a couple of bright spots with Vierling,
Can I
and
just change my pick to the whole offensive
I mean,
Tigers as dud of the week? Because
honestly, it was easier. It was a lot harder to find a dud because you had more options. Stud, you had 2 or 3 options. It was
yeah,
like, well, which one do I want to go with?
right, yeah, yeah.
The dud, it
That's
was
fair.
like you can go with him, you can go with him, you can go with
Yeah,
him. The pitching, though, on the other hand, was a lot harder to find. Uh, really, both of these because there's great options for both stud and dud of the week. Or
yes,
actually, not even dud of the week because saying anybody on this pitching staff was a dud, I don't think is fair to
right.
anybody on this pitching staff.
Yeah, when we get to mine, the only reason why I'll explain it to why I picked him as
Yeah.
a dud, but
So the stud of the week for me for the pitchers is Joey Wentz. I was really tough on Joey Wentz when he made the team. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I talked about on the podcast or not, but just in conversation, I really like Bo Burrows or Bo Brisky, excuse me. Bo Burrows is football. Yeah, Bo Brisky. And he's in AAA right now, and I really felt like he deserved that spot over Joey Wentz, but because of contracts and out of minor league options, I think Joey Wentz got it. But he has pitched very well so far in this young season for the Tigers. In the last 3 games, he's pitched 5 1/3 innings and only allowed 1 run. So just based off of my uh, not really high expectations for him, and he's producing. I'm gonna make it right here with Joey Wentz, and he's my stud of the week. So Joey, keep it up.
Hats off to Joey Wentz, baby.
Yep.
My stud of the week is another offseason addition. Shelby Miller. In 3 innings, he's actually won 2 games. Thanks to the Tigers' late heroics in a couple of those. He's only given up 2 walks. He's struck out 4 Ks. The last 7 games, he has not allowed a hit or a run. So no hits and no runs coming out of the bullpen, and you get 2 wins. You're doing something right. So I like what I see so far out of Shelby Miller. So he's my stud of the week.
Yeah, I've liked him so far. I think that's been one of the better signings of the offseason that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
My dud of the week, and this is more so the strength of the team, just shows you how deep this team is. But I went with Reese Olson. In his one start, he pitched 4 1/3, 6 runs. I watched that game. Reese Olson did not pitch that bad of a game, but they were just hitting the ball where the defense wasn't, and we couldn't get outs. And it kind of created a little bit of a crooked number there for Reese Olson. I still like him. I still think he's got good stuff, so this is nothing against him. It's just out of all the pitchers, I think he had the worst numbers this week. So that is why Reese Olson is my dud of the week for the pitchers.
Yeah. Again, this was kind of tough with the pitchers, but I have the only reason why I picked him, and it's Alex Faedo. I know he had the 1 good game, but right now he only has 1 strikeout. He has 2 walks in the last 7 games. But the batting average against hitting against him, he's allowing 364 in batting average the last 7 games. And that means guys are able to hit the ball and get on. And his ERA right now is 6.75. So I'd like to see that coming down, especially for a guy coming out of the bullpen. But again, it's hard to nitpick on some of these guys. I don't think he's really a dud. I think he'll have a nice, turnaround here. But he's the dud of the week this week.
So like I said, I will keep track of who we pick as studs and duds of the week. And we'll kind of base our MVP of the team award off of that, and see how these players progress throughout the season, because baseball is a long season. So we don't want to overreact to a guy going a little bit of a slump hitting or pitching for that matter. But one thing and I talked about it last week, I look at the back of your baseball cards, and for example, with Javier Baez and Spencer Torkelson, Torque has a tendency to hit a lot of pop-ups, and he's been doing that early this season, and that's kind of my frustration with him. It's not necessarily because he has pop-ups, it's because it's been an issue now for more than 1 year. But looking at the studs and the duds, it'll be interesting to see just the roller coaster of the season, because baseball is a roller coaster of a sport. I don't know if you see it in the private chat. I sent you something for you to. Okay.
Yep. I saw that.
Okay. So I'm going to do a preview of the Twins series now. Minnesota, obviously, our main competition in the division this year, I would say. They are off to a slow start. We are facing them for the next 4, by the way, starting Thursday. They are 4-6 to start the season. They played this today. They actually beat the Dodgers today. Offense, these numbers, by the way, are as of yesterday. So the numbers that Alex will give you to are as of yesterday. Offense has been struggling to start the season for both the Tigers and the Twins. Tigers are averaging 3.3 runs a game. Twins are averaging 2.88 runs a game. That is the second worst in Major League Baseball. For the record, the White Sox, who the Tigers swept to start the season, have the worst runs per game in Major League Baseball right now. Pitching, however, has been the strength for both teams. Twins are allowing 3.7 runs a game, and the Tigers are allowing 3.5 runs a game. With it being early season matchup and both teams struggling, I really don't think this is going to be a very offensive weekend for either team. But maybe this will be what gets the bats rolling for both teams. Hopefully, the Tigers more so. The best players in this young season for the Twins, we got Kirilloff with a 1086 OPS. He's hit 3 triples so far this season. We've only played 10 games. And again, this is as of last night, so we could have had a triple today. I didn't check. But hitting 3 triples in 10 days or 10 games, a lot of players don't hit 3 triples in a season. So that is a crazy stat. Carlos Correa has an 855 OPS. He's hit 2 doubles and has 3 RBIs. And then the most exciting player in the Minnesota Twins organization and in the American League Central, in my opinion, Byron Buxton has 4 RBIs to start this early season. Hopefully, for baseball's sake, he can stay healthy, because when he is healthy, he is the most exciting player in baseball. He's up there with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Like, he's that good. But the issue is his whole career, he has not been healthy. So we haven't seen it. The worst player for the Twins so far this young season is our old friend Willie Castro. He is, as of yesterday, I don't know, I didn't look up today's numbers. He is 3 for 29 with 12 strikeouts to start the season, which is not good numbers. Probable starters for these games, we got Skubal versus Lopez, Maeda versus Ryan, Flaherty versus Ober, and Olsen versus Varland. So should be some good pitching matchups here. Hopefully, like I said, the Tigers bats can get going here. But I don't really want to sit here and give predictions for this, because baseball is such a crazy sport. But the Tigers need to split this series. I mean, I would like to win 3 out of 4, but you need to split this series, worst case scenario. But yeah. So Alex now is going to do a quick preview of the Rangers series.
Yeah, I had to because of how our chat works in the private chat, I had to do some research on top of your research, because the spacing kind of threw me off. So correct me if I get any of it wrong. But after this Twin series, like you said, we got split with these guys, or even take it, because they're going to be up there at the top, and you got to win in your own division, obviously.
Yep.
But Texas, as of April 9th, they're averaging 5.8 runs a game, and they're only allowing 4 runs a game. But they're only 6-5 right now to start the season. So not good, but not great for your defending World Series champs. Some of their better players, Corey Seager, who has a 916 OPS and 5 walks right now. Adolis Garcia has a 896 OPS, 4 home runs, 11 ribbies, but he has 15 Ks, strikeouts. And I just read what
you like my comment.
Yeah. The number 3 draft pick for your Detroit Tigers, Wyatt Langford, is only averaging 623 OPS, and that would be the 9th highest for the Tigers right now.
I only put that because in my notes here I have everyone's favorite not Tiger. And if you go on any Tigers fan page right now, they absolutely hate that Max Clark is in Lakeland and that Wyatt Langford, who was taken right after him, is in Major League Baseball, not knowing how this draft stuff works at all. But
yeah, not to mention,
I had to throw that in there because
he's third on strikeouts. He's 10. He has 10 strikeouts. Only walks 4 times.
And he doesn't play defense.
Doesn't play defense. He's their DH right now. He only has 6 RBIs, 1 triple and 1 double. So yeah, he's only scored 4 runs when he's gotten on base. So yeah, there's not too much. I know what you're trying to say. But the probable starters right now looks like it's Casey Mize and to be determined. Love that guy because he seems to pitch it for every team. Game number 2 is Skubal versus Gray. Game number 3 is
my computer does a typo for when I type in Maeda.
Yeah. Kenta Maeda versus Dunning, and then game 4 is Flaherty against Henny. So yeah, it'd be interesting series against the defending world champs. Right now, they're the team to beat. Obviously, they're defending. So we'll see how the Tigers stack up against them. Um, hopefully, it's a good series. Is it at the
Yeah,
Rangers?
Attack America.
Oh, it's at Comerica. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, both these series are at Comerica Park. The Tigers have a 8-game homestand here.
okay.
So that makes it a little bit better that you're not going from Minnesota to Texas or Detroit to Texas or even Minnesota to Detroit. It's all in Detroit. So
yeah. Okay.
So we're done with the preview side of this. One thing I want to do with this Tigers weekly show is I want to have like a conversation of sorts over something historical, Tiger speaking. And the topic that I've seen a lot on social media is Major League Baseball has implemented, I don't know if this is a new rule. It sounds like it is, but I don't know if it is. Like just the way that people are reacting. I feel like it's a new rule, but I actually don't know that for sure. But basically, Major League Baseball is now able to change the ruling of a play up to 7 days later. And what that means is if they ruled something a hit and it was actually an error, they can change it to an error within 7 days of the original play. I don't believe that means they can change like plays that actually affected the outcome of the game. I think it's more of just stats wise, more of hey, that play was actually a hit or that play was actually an error or fielder's choice or something like that. I don't think that's more. I think it's more of the stat side of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of the just I got of it.
Yeah. And this all came up. And I should send this to you. But if you want to hear the whole thing, the Angels first baseman Nolan Shanuel, he was on base. He was looking to continue his on base, to tie. I think he was 2 games away from tying the Yankees catcher Truck Hannon or Hanna back in 1918, who reached base safely in 38 games. Well, kind of like what Brandon was saying, the MLB decided to go back to March 30th at the time and change one of the plays. That happened. I think they were playing Baltimore. Um, I think it was. Looks like it was a pop up in the ninth. But the Baltimore reliever dropped the ball upon further review, so they actually ruled it in an error. But it's probably one of my favorite baseball rants of lately. Basically, what's his name? Wayne Rendezzo. Uh, he was talking about this, I think, during one of the different game. He says, negative story after negative story, scandal after scandal. The fiasco in Oakland. You have these ridiculous looking jerseys. You have the MLB Players Association challenging the league about the pitch clock today because of constant pitcher injuries. Not to mention your global superstar is embroiled in a betting scandal. But on top of all that, you have a young player trying to make a name for himself who has come up and reached base safely in every single game he has played. And the league allows this scoring change to go on to end his streak. Kill the story, a positive story that's happening in Major League Baseball. It's an absurdity. And again, that's referencing his on base. He was at 36 on bases. He drew a walk, and then MLB got involved and went back and actually ended it 6 games ago, because it says here it would have been 30 on bases was when it ended, which is actually still the third longest. Again, the second one is Truck Hanna with 38, and then Alvin Davis holds the major league record for 47 games for Seattle in 1984 to start his career.
Oh, to start his career, I was gonna say Joe DiMaggio has like a 56 game, but to start your career, that makes more sense.
Sorry, I did not. Yeah, start your career. That's what it was. So then would be basically was like, I'm putting further review. The pitcher dropped it. It's a rule in there. And actually, this article I'm reading, by, let's see if I can get it here. Who's this one by? It's by Fanside. It says the Angels actually appealed the decision, but they got denied.
So yeah. So all that being said, fans have taken notice of this change of or this rule that MLB can change outcomes of plays, but not really. And they've like, well, MLB should go back further than 7 days and go back years and change the Armando Gallaraga perfect game. Armando Gallaraga, excuse me. Uh so I wanted to talk about that for a few minutes and basically give our thoughts on one, I guess just a quick recap of the situation that we're talking about here in case you're not entirely sure. And two, should MLB change the outcome of that game and give Gallarraga the perfect game? And we talked about this a couple episodes ago, excuse me. But I kind of want a little bit go more in depth. So if you're not sure what we're talking about, Armando Gallaraga was a pitcher for the Tigers, and he had a perfect game going in the ninth. He was actually 2 outs, and there was a ground ball to first base, and Miguel Cabrera fielded it. Gallarraga covered first base. Cabrera flipped it to him to get the Cleveland guy out. He was out by half a step. Everybody in the ballpark, except for one person, knew he was out by 1 step or half a step. Unfortunately for the Tigers, the one person that did not necessarily think he was out by a half step and actually thought he was safe was Jim Joyce, who was a Major League Baseball umpire who, at that time in history, was umping first base at Comerica Park. So Jim Joyce called him safe. And Jim Leland, who was the manager for the Tigers at the time, came out and said, "Are you sure about that?" And Jim Joyce said, "Yep." He goes, "All right, for your sake, I hope you're right." And Leland goes back in the dugout. I think he actually goes in the clubhouse and he sees a video, or somebody sees a video of it and tells Leland, no, he was out. The game ends. The next batter, the Tigers get the guy out. So 28 game perfect game is what people call it. And Leland goes out there and gives Jim Joyce a little pep talk, we'll say. And I don't think he was inviting him over for coffee and cookies. I'm just going to throw that out there. But yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of it. And every once in a while, people say, actually, not every once in a while, basically, since the play has happened, everyone's like, well, you got to overturn it and give him his perfect game. So, again, I think we talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but I want to go a little bit more, talk about it again. So, I'm going to ask you, and then I'll give my opinion too. Should Major League Baseball give Armando Gallaraga the perfect game and say, no, he was actually out?
No, as much as I would like to say it, but no, I don't think they should go that far back. I believe it's over like 5,000 days or something. That was the perfect, imperfect game or whatever you want to call it. But because if you do it for this one, you got to go back and do it for all the other ones. Not perfect games, but all the other maybe strikeouts or something for bonuses or something like that. Go back and backtrack everything, and I think it's just more of a headache than anything. Yeah, Brandon, it's great. I love that we can all hear you when you're muted.
Okay, I am. Well, because I'm really gassy tonight, and I didn't want my farts to go on the mic, to be completely honest with you.
Hey,
Yeah.
just me and
Uh,
you talking, no one else here.
no, but I completely agree with you. In fact, basically, since the play happened, obviously I was upset because he was clearly out, but I never thought, man, they really need to overturn that because, like you said, where does it stop?
Yeah.
At what point? Because I'm sure there was a game in 1963 that the umpire got a play wrong that could have. And again, I don't know this for sure, but let's say a play happened in 1963 where the umpire called a player safe when he was actually out, and the team that got screwed by that call missed the playoffs because they lost that game. Again, I don't know if that scenario has ever happened. I'm gonna say safe chance that that scenario or something close to it has probably happened in Major League Baseball. So you can't really go back and give Gallarraga his perfect game because then you got the 1963 Braves or whoever, again, just making this story up. They're going to come out and say, well, how come we couldn't overturn ours? And because we could have won the World Series that year.
Right.
And that's kind of why I feel about like that way. Or when we talked about this a couple weeks ago, the scenario I gave was the Orioles and Yankees when the Yankees fans caught the ball that
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
like everybody on this planet knew that fan reached over, including every other fan on this planet. Yeah, so I'm okay with going back a week and ruling something a hit or an error that was ruled wrong. But if you're overturning decisions that have impact on the game, um, that's not okay in my books.
Right.
Because again, that's a Pandora's box you don't really want to open up. The one thing with what they're doing though, this will impact contracts down the road
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of incentive based stuff in contract. Like the contracts themselves are fully guaranteed, but there's bonuses. If you get
Yeah.
X amount of stuff, you get a bonus of X.
Yeah.
And this is going to impact bonuses at some point because somebody's going to be a hit or two short. And they're going to be like, well, actually, at first it was ruled a hit. Yeah, but Major League Baseball went back and said it wasn't a hit, so it's not a hit.
Right. Yeah.
I could see that more of a concern than Gallarraga's perfect game.
Yeah.
But I don't think Gallarraga's perfect game is a good example of what Major League Baseball is trying to do here.
No, and I think I told you this before. This is probably the best thing that's ever happened to Gallarraga
Oh yeah,
is not getting that because one, he would just be another guy that threw it, but two, it's his name always gets brought up. And three, and I think we talked about it. Like the next day, the dude got to give the lineup. He got a new car out of it. I can't remember what else he got. Uh, but everyone, kind of felt bad for him because he got screwed. Obviously, we see it or in the replay, but uh, I think this best thing that ever happened to him was not getting that perfect game because his name's always going to be there as one of the names of hey, remember that time there was a perfect game but there wasn't?
yeah. And I will say this to Jim Joyce's credit, he took it like a man.
Oh yeah,
How many times have we seen an umpire blow a call or a referee in whatever sport and not talk to the media, just basically be like, sorry, not available? Jim Joyce talked to the media after that game.
mm-hmm.
And if you have a chance, look it up and watch that interview. He
Dude was
basically
emotional.
he watched the replay and said, "Oh crap, I messed up."
Yeah,
And he was
I
crying.
I think he even said, "Yeah, I realized I cost that guy in a perfect game, something he might not
Yeah,
ever get again, or something like that." But yeah,
yeah.
I just
He was
remember,
sick.
yeah,
He was sick to his stomach, which I have so much respect for him
mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all going to make mistakes. The difference between somebody that I admire and somebody that I get irritated with, the person I get irritated with does not take accountability, doesn't try to improve, while the person I admire is man enough to step in front of the camera and say, I done messed up, and I cost that kid a perfect game, and I'm 100% responsible for it.
Right, I
I
agree.
I think that's just phenomenal. And then it was really cool the next day when Gallarraga brought out the lineup card. Jim Joyce literally was cutting onions out there. Like that
Yeah.
guy was just bawling his eyes out. So
But then, Gallarraga was like, "Man, it's all right," gives him a tap or whatever. But yeah,
yeah,
like Brent said, go look it up. And I'm sure it's on YouTube the day after or whatever. But for Jim Joyce to, take all of that, and I think even after the game, some of the Tigers players went over to, invite them over for, well, it probably wasn't a barbecue, but invite them over to have a little chat. And they all kind of in a way, they kept it cool because, they didn't put hands on him or anything, but uh, he took it like like a man. He stand in line and took all the shots that came at him. So
yeah. So hats off to Matt or Jim Joyce, not Matt Joyce. Matt Joyce is an outfielder that played for the Tigers at one
yeah,
point, though. But that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We have a couple fun episodes for you guys next week. Next Monday is April 15th. There's two very important things with April 15th. One is tax day. So if you don't have your taxes done yet, give Uncle Sam his money that he's stealing from us. But I don't want to get into that. That's conversation for a different podcast. Not even a different day. This is a different podcast altogether.
Different podcast for sure.
And the thing that's relevant to our podcast on April 15th, it is the anniversary of Jackie Robinson making his big league debut. And we want to do a little special on Jackie Robinson and the impact he's made on Major League Baseball. It's a very inspiring story, a very sad story, and it's a story that it's probably been told a million times, but needs to be told again.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about Jackie Robinson on Monday, and then at some point next week, we'll do a next week's episode for the Detroit Tigers, and we'll talk about something else after the series previews and stuff. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Be sure to like us on Facebook and Instagram. Links for those are in the description if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify or listening on Spotify or podcast. Be sure to subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, email us at hardballsportstalk@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for checking us out, and go Tigers.